you got to do more. God needs to be your foundation, but I would kind of mirror like what you said about the woman. That young man needs to really do some introspective work. Look into himself, because when I got married, I didn't know I had a lot of issues. I thought I was good when I got married, as far as lust and pornography and anger and pride and all this, and all I knew was I loved you and I wanted to be with you, and so I put my best foot forward. There was no issues. There was no being held accountable for responsibilities yet, before we got married. And so a lot of the issues that I was dealing with didn't really show up until after the marriage.
Every time we have this conversation, hard to break in, face to face, but we don't know how to face it. Yeah, we're done, but we're too afraid to say it. Time is racing. Every time we have this conversation, hard to break in, face to face, but we don't know how to face it. Almost perfect, but not adjacent. Time is racing, babe, and I don't want you to waste it.
What's up, baby?
Hey, honey. I'm so excited about our conversation today.
I am too.
We having some good talks.
Yeah, this is good. I think today, it's close to me really, because we started off real young. We started off young. We were like little tiny little people in the hood. And we got married. We had to make a real serious decision at a young age. And that, it turned out to be a beautiful decision.
Yeah, amen. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that, because we did start off not really knowing where our relationship obviously was going to go, like most people, right?
Yeah.
We were young, but we were driven, very ambitious. I think we also... we talked a lot about our future, and I think that was always something that connected us together. That was something I always admired about you, is you were a dreamer, and so we would get together and we would just dream. We would park and we would talk a lot about our future. And then we got pregnant, and then we got married, and then the kids came, and then life started to get real, right? And so today, let's talk about the pros and the cons of getting married young.
The goods and the bads.
Yeah.
The positive and the negatives. Because when we first met, not first met, but when we really got serious about our relationship, you was about, how old were you?
We met when I was 13. We got serious when I know that sounds weird, but we did get serious when I was 15. And we got married when I was 17.
And I think the reason why we would think it's so deep into relationship is because we've been through a lot at an early age. At an early age, so we had to mature.
We grew up fast.
We grew up fast at an early age. And
we had to mature quick.
Real quick.
Yeah, because we didn't have the stability, the home stability that, and I think that's probably the difference with today's generation of children. They have more of a stable foundation versus what we had back then. And so we were trying to get up out of our parents' house. We were trying to, establish a life for ourselves at a young age back then. So we took life more seriously.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, we took life.
It's like, if I don't get out now, then I ain't gonna have no place to stay.
Facts.
I gotta think, let me make this money. Let me go to work.
Yo.
You know what I'm saying? Let me, so when we had
to go to work.
We had to. So we got serious. You was around 15.
Yeah.
15 when we really, really got serious. And absolutely. I remember us sitting overlooking the city, and I gave that ultimatum, like when God was dealing with me. And I was about 18 or 18.
We're 5 years apart.
18,
so
19.
Nevertheless, that's what it was.
Yeah. So I'm trying, I try to.
You always do that.
Try to bridge that gap a little bit.
You try to bridge the gap. We were 5 years apart.
But I was around that age, and then we got serious. I said, look, if we're going to be together, we got to, give up all this. We were smoking and drinking and just doing some stuff. And this is at the time I was like toggling back and forth with God, wrestling with God, trying to figure out what am I going to do in life, you
Yes.
know. And so anyway, we decided to together, like, let's finally make this decision to go after God.
Absolutely.
And so we got married. You was 15, I was 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful decision because we decided to take life on together as partners at a young age. And so I just think that there's beauty in getting married young, beauty in, having a serious relationship as at a young age, because you get to build together. You get to dream together. You get to experience the ups and the downs of life together. And I just believe that because we got married so young, that our foundation was rooted really deep. Yeah, we even to this
The foundation of like we know that there's different types of commitments. The structural commitment that we had for our relationship was strong.
Oh yeah,
because we grew up together.
Yeah,
like
we
kids.
knew each other.
Like
we knew each other's families. We the dysfunction in each other's families.
Everything.
We went through it all together.
Everything.
At the time we got really serious, my mom was really deep on drugs.
Yep.
My mom was on crack cocaine when I was 15, and so we were each other's safe haven. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed coming over to your house because your house, you pretty much was raised by your grandmother.
Right. And I love that. That was,
oh my gosh.
That was a piece for both of us.
Yes.
And I absolutely hated going with my mom at home
Yep.
because there was abuse there.
Absolutely.
There was, alcoholism. There was, abandonment. A lot was there.
Neglect,
So,
like you didn't feel loved. You feel
Yeah.
But we felt loved at your grandmother's house.
big time.
So we took
They gave us attention.
yeah.
They loved us.
I knew she loved us.
That's it. They taught us.
Yes.
The both of us.
Absolutely.
So my grandparents was like your grandparents.
Absolutely.
But,
almost like I know they were
our mom, dad,
your
yep.
grandparents, but your grandparents was more like our parents.
Our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got married, I guess, once we'd made that decision, we dated and we tried so hard not to go to the boom boom room.
We did.
Like we tried to cancel the boom boom room, babe. We tried so hard, and that was a challenge for us.
That day when we were in the car and we threw away the weed and the beer, and we said we was going to go after God and take God seriously.
Yeah.
We still had a major challenge with sex.
You couldn't keep your hands off me. You just could not stop touching me for some reason, and I was praying. I said, Lord, you were supposed to be saved. I said, God, this girl ain't saved. She's a heathen.
I didn't grow up in church. I didn't know anything about God, sir. You the one out here preaching to me, bruh. You've been preaching Jesus to me. You had the gospel in your mouth.
But I felt like you've been, I felt like I was.
your hands on my body. You had the gospel in your mouth. And you had your hands on my body.
But what was this thing that your girl was saying? She said you went to the altar.
You had your hands on my body.
I was laying hands. I was praying. I was laying hands on you, praying for you. See, you had something else in your mind.
Yeah. Okay,
see, I knew that.
okay.
I felt like I was bamboozled. So we got married.
That's your story. Stick with it.
I'm gonna stick with that story. We're gonna stick with that one. So when we made the decision and we dated for a little while, tried to stay away from sex, didn't happen too much. Then I'm gonna fast forward it because we had a child. We had a child.
Yeah, we got pregnant. I was 16. I was I remember that was a shock, and I just really, babe, I always remember that moment in my life because I never knew my father. Matter of fact, we all had different fathers. Me and both of my brothers had different fathers, and so when I got pregnant. And it was a shock to me. And we were standing in the doctor's office. And when you said the doctor, because I passed out, oh, Lord. When she told me I was pregnant, and I fell to the ground. And you were like, the nurse was like, well, we have other options. We have other options. And you were like, nah, we only got one option. And that was something, when I really looked at you, I was like, this might be a ride or die. He might be here to stay.
Was that the moment
he might be here to stay with you, girl?
Was that the moment that certified me as husband?
It opened my eyes to who you could potentially be to me. I don't know if I was thinking husband,
right?
But I was like, he might be a real one.
And see, this is the thing. When we throughout all this time, I don't think that the the thought too much about marriage came, like the conversation, we didn't talk about it too much.
No.
But
Teenagers.
we were teenagers, right? We wasn't really thinking about, but we knew that we were each other's person.
Correct.
And so we were with each other, and eventually I proposed and we got married. I
was 4 months pregnant and you proposed to me. And that was a beautiful day. And I just wanted to take a second just to say that that's where it started for
the backstory,
me as to why I seriously started thinking about a future with you for real that day when you were like, nah, we only got one option and we gonna do this. And for real, you were there day one. Like,
I thought
every
about
doctor's appointment. You know, you bought my maternity clothes, you bought my food. Like,
I said, this is real. When I start to see that stomach, I'm like, this is real now. Like, but that wasn't the moment that I was thinking about marriage. The moment was that day when I gave that ultimatum. That was my moment when I said, okay, if I'm gonna be with you, I like you. I want to be with you.
Hold
and
up,
so
I'm
that's why I gave the ultimatum, because if we're gonna be together, then I'm not walking this way. I'm not going to do the drugs. I'm not going to do all that. I'm not going that way. So I'm about to turn this other way. So if I like you, but that was my determining factor of whether or not you were the one for me.
If I was wife material.
Yes, that was it right there.
That's interesting.
That was it right there.
So when I looked at you, I took a moment to think about your ultimatum. And when I came back and was like, all right, let's go. That was your green light.
That was the green light.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, let's roll. And granted, this for everybody to know, you talking about kids who were 15 and 18, 19 years old.
How I was thinking like this.
That did that, you know?
Facts.
So we got married. I eventually, proposed to you. We got married. And because I want to get into, like, what are the pros and cons of being married that young? We shared a little bit of the backstory. We're gonna have to do a whole nother podcast about our story.
Pros and cons. Okay, so let me give one pro that I know without a shadow of a doubt is the best thing about getting married young for me is that I feel like the intimacy. Because intimacy, the true definition is to really know that person. And I just feel like I know you. You know what I'm saying? I know the good, the bad, like for better or worse. We've had better and we've had worse.
Man,
okay.
We had worse, like we had hellions type stuff.
Absolutely. And I've been through it with you. You know, I met you when you were 18. You know, you coming on 46 in a couple of days. You feel me?
Come on through.
Yeah.
That's why I had to let these grades pop a little bit. I'm on my grown man.
You sexy, dude. You
Come
sexy.
on. I'm on my grown man stuff.
I love it. I love a grown man.
You like that?
Yes, sir.
You see how I hold this cup right here?
Yes, sir.
Grown man.
Stop. So I think the pro for me is just the deep level of intimacy that you build when you've been with somebody for years. You know, when you go through, the real storms of life. Like we've been through some real things with my family, with our marriage. We've been through adultery. We've been through hard times. But I feel like our love has withstand all. Big time. Then that's why we say through it all, we still win, because we've been through a lot. But our love has just been really powerful. And I believe it shows the true definition of agape love, unconditional love. So that would be a pro for me.
Definitely. Because, for somebody that's been married for so long and grew up together, we married young, we're able to look back at the changes that the both of us have come to. Like, you changed a lot, I've changed a lot.
We've seen each other evolve.
I mean, evolve and change and shift. Yep. I remember, like, even, I remember when, for you, there was a moment where public speaking wasn't your thing.
Oh my God, I was shy.
Like, you was very shy.
Quiet and closed in. I was a loner. I enjoyed being by myself. Yep. Yeah.
But you was a child back then. You was a teenager.
All of that. I didn't know who
early
I was.
20s, teenager, and now it's like I can't get my wife to just. I can't get my wife to be quiet.
Did not. Because I've blossomed, honey. This flower had to bloom eventually.
You did.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, though, because it makes me proud, to see where you came from. So at the beginning, we was talking about that structural commitment.
Absolutely.
The foundation, because we got married so young. Yep. And now talking about 20 something years later, we got married as when we were teens.
Yes.
It's like when we look back, it's like it's just so much that we can be appreciative for.
Absolutely.
And proud of.
Yes.
You know, just thinking about us being early 20s. We had like 2 or 3 kids. 2 kids.
Man, you've been having me popping babies, sir, every 2 years. You know, the first one at 17, the second child we had when I was 19.
Yeah.
And we had our last child when I was about 22, 23. So I had 3 children by 23.
By 23.
And I said, bruh, we gonna have to somebody got to get clipped out here, because.
And I was a sacrifice. I was a sacrifice.
Somebody got to be the lamb, because listen, but I can't keep doing
that. That was good too, because that's a positive thing about getting married young, because now we're still young.
Oh yeah.
And our kids are now old. They're adults now.
I love this season we're in. The ages that our kids are in right now.
Talk about
it's so cool. Like, like Genesis, she'll be 18 this year, and that's I don't know. It's almost like we sisters in a sense. Obviously, she know I'm the mama and I don't play with her. But at the end of the day, we get our nails done, we get our hair done together.
Right.
Even our conversations are starting to change. You know, I can talk to her more adult-like now, and I'm sure you feel that way about the boys too. Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about it, because I've seen some people, and not knocking people who got married and have kids when they're older, but it's like, I've actually lived through, as a child, I've lived to experience one of my friends who was so much younger than his mom and dad. Like, there was no relatability there at all. It's like the dad, he was maybe 13 years old, and the mom and dad was up in their 60s and 70s. You see what I'm saying?
I got you.
But there was no relatability there, and so
that could possibly be a con.
That's a con.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah,
the relatability.
And that's the thing. But us being married young, as a plus, is that now we're able to, have that family to where we're a young family.
We're a young family.
We're able to enjoy life together. We were able to actually, be energized and run around with the kids and stuff like that, do crazy, kooky stuff with the kids, and then now to see them grown, it's like, okay, this is like we like brothers and sisters around here, even though we know that we're parents, but we can relate.
Yes.
We ain't in our 80s, 70s, 80s.
Absolutely.
Talking to kids who are in their 20s. You know what I'm saying?
What I enjoy,
we use some of the jargon, the slang, and
the music. We dance with our kids. We have fun. I remember when Christian turned 21 a couple months back. We went to Putt Shack here in Atlanta, and it was just the 5 of us. And man, we had a good time. We were dancing. We were, Then when we came home later that night, we opened a bottle of wine, and you did like a toast to him turning 21.
Rites of passage, and that was a beautiful thing.
It is what it is. And we teaching our kids about the real ups and downs of marriage. They're seeing seeing us evolve too, and we live our life open before our children. That's something we keep it a buck with everything, and I think that it's going to be a benefit to them to see how to do life for real and how to do marriage for real. So what would be another con of getting married young?
Oh, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah,
and one of the things is like, how when people ask you, what would you do if you can go back? Okay. I think one of the cons for me is, because we got married young, there's a lot of information that we didn't have. Okay. That's one of the things. There's some things that I would do differently. We talk about parenting. We talk about marriage and things like that. But I think that I would go back into it with more information and into marriage, because we were teenagers. We didn't know what marriage was about.
We lacked a lot of wisdom.
How to even raise. We knew we loved our kids, and we knew that we didn't want to be like our parents.
That part.
We knew
what not to do.
We knew what not to do. We didn't want to be like our parents, but I wish that I knew how to parent them a little differently.
What to do.
We knew to teach them and to protect them and to keep them away from bad things and bad people, and encourage them.
We brought
teach
them
them
up
the
in
word.
church.
Let them know, hey, that you can do anything. We always encourage them. You can do anything. You can be anything. Nothing that you can't do without God. But just the little relational type stuff that I wish I could go back and reset that part. And then also in our marriage, some things that I would do in our marriage that would be different. I wish I knew that women need to be catered to emotionally. Yeah. I wish I knew that early on. I wish I knew that you need to be number one priority. Not my business, not my success, not all of this, because I wish I knew how to handle my anger. I wish I knew a lot about me.
Wow.
You see?
Wow. So self-discovery, you wish you had more time with you to develop you. Yeah. And we were getting developed within the marriage. And while we were parenting the kids, we were getting developed. We were making mistakes. We were learning as we go. But one thing we knew for sure is that we loved our kids, and we allowed our love to guide us. Right. But even with love, you need wisdom.
That's it.
And we lack wisdom. God says wisdom is the principal thing. Yeah. And so, wisdom comes with age. Wisdom comes with experience. We didn't have much experience, right? And so that's why, now that our kids are older, we often tell them, look, we did the best. Listen, like hands down, we really gave you 100% of all we had. You know what I'm saying? Some people have a gallon size amount of love, and some people only have a pint. Yeah. But I believe we had a gallon, and we gave them kids every drop of that. But I think one con for me, staying in line with what you're saying, is seeing that I had my first child at 17, and I was a wife at 17. Oh my, a con would definitely be a lack of self-development, a lack of self-worth, self-love, to truly discover me, Christina, the person, the individual, because, being a mother and a wife is a sacrificial life, and so my life was given to my kids. Instantly, every day, and to you as your wife. I had to serve you and support you with your vision, your dreams, your goals. Be there for the children, hands down, in every endeavor, and nurture and care for them. So I think that one con could be the lack of care for me. And I feel that I'm now in that season, though. Now that they're older, and I'm still young, to God be the glory. I'm only 40 years old. So now that they're older, they all work at their own jobs. Like they doing their thing. I can pick up and go. I can focus on Christina now. I can, so either you're going to do it then or you're going to do it later in life. And I'm grateful to God that I'm now in a season that I can focus on me and continue to develop the woman that I am.
That's big. That's big. And that I want to ask you this question. What would you tell somebody that has gotten married young? Because there's a lot that you just unpacked just now a little bit. But what would you tell somebody who got married young, and they're young right now? They just got married and they're young. What would you tell that husband and that? Well, just speak to the wife. What would you tell that wife, a young wife, that she would need to do in this stage of her life as being married young?
I would tell her that as much time that she's going to have to give to nurturing and caring for her children and her husband, because that's what a good wife would do, a virtuous wife would do, she's going to have to be intentional about taking some time for her. Even if it's an hour a day where she sits and reflects on who she is as a person, who she wants to be as a person, getting information about, core values, like making sure that she's rooted and grounded in her own character. What type of woman, how does she want to show up in the world? You know what I'm saying? And so get content and get information, get wisdom. Like if she doesn't have that family support, like I didn't, I didn't have the mom to teach me or the grandmother or anybody, but in this day and time, you can go to YouTube University. You can find a mentor. You can find somebody that you can glean from, that you can get wisdom from, that you aspire to be. Like right now in this season, I love to pray. I love to teach, encourage, and motivate people. And so I have this woman in my life that she don't know. I don't know her personally, but I glean from her on YouTube. I listen to her content. I listen to how she conduct herself. So I would say get a mentor, get somebody in your life, whether it's virtual or in person or, but find somebody that you can say, you know what? I like that about that person. I like how they carry themselves, how they show up in this world. I love how they represent themselves, because I feel like a woman, the Bible says, of a virtuous wife is who can find. Her worth is far above rubies. And so I believe the image that a woman should have of herself is an image of being valuable. And I feel like young girls a lot of times don't see their worth. And I believe that the young me didn't understand back then how valuable I was. And I believe that in this season, I now have a revelation of my value. And so I would tell that young girl, get a revelation of how precious you are, how valuable you are, because that's going to determine a lot of the choices you make in life. Your yeses and your nos is going to be determined by your value system. Yeah.
Because that's biblical. What you said, there's so much that you said that was so on point. Paul said, when you talk about finding a mentor or somebody that you can glean from, Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." You see, so he was saying, "Hey, I'm your mentor. Follow me because I'm going to lead you into the way that you should, live your life."
Absolutely.
And so what you're saying is that young lady should first, learn about herself, but ultimately find somebody that you could, if you can't talk to in person, virtually, that you can, model yourself behind, not to, idolize,
not clone,
right?
You're an individual, you're authentic, you're an original being. God made you fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, I love Christina. I love how I show up as me, and I'm not going to change that. But I think when you look at a mentor, you can find ways to enhance the authentic you. So that's what I glean from. I glean from ways that I can enhance who I already am.
That's so good. That is so good.
So what would you tell a young man, an 18, 19, 20, even a 25-year-old dude right now who is contemplating marriage? What would you say to him? Like, this is the wisdom now that you're older, you're more mature now. You've been married to one woman for 23 years.
Come on here now.
This Sunday is our anniversary.
And I get a different version of you all the time. So it's like I'm married to multiple women.
Same,
I
sir.
love it.
Yeah, so what would you tell him?
Well, I mean, looking back at my life, I would definitely say before even getting married, number one, God has to be your foundation. I think that's something that I really appreciate about my life, because, that was the first thing. But you got to do more. God needs to be your foundation. But I would kind of mirror like what you said about the woman. That young man needs to really do some introspective work. Look into himself, because when I got married, I didn't know I had a lot of issues. I thought I was good when I got married, as far as lust and pornography and anger and pride and all this, and all I knew was I loved you and I wanted to be with you. And so I put my best foot forward. There was no issues. There was no being held accountable for responsibilities yet, before we got married. And so a lot of the issues that I was dealing with didn't really show up until after the marriage. So I would say do some introspective work first on top of...
How would he do that introspective work?
I would definitely... That's a good question, because you got to ask yourself, what ticks you off? What are you willing to live with, and what can you are you going to be that help around the house for your wife? Are you going to focus on and make your wife priority? Do you understand what it looks like to make your wife priority?
So would you say understanding the gravity of the responsibility of what it means to be a husband?
That's the first thing.
That's the introspective. He needs to really gain knowledge on what he's really, really signing up for.
Yeah, because if you don't do that work first and the responsibilities could become a nag to your everyday life when you're married.
Let's go.
Because marriage is a responsibility. It's a beautiful responsibility. If you handle marriage right, then, it can be a beautiful thing in your life. It could enhance you or it can destroy you.
Ooh.
That's the thing.
You better. Let's go here. Let's go to church. Oh my God.
But that's one thing that I've learned, so I would say to that young man that you need to know your responsibility in marriage. You need to know that you got to be the priest, the king, and the prophet in your marriage.
Wow.
And if you don't understand those roles, when your wife, because you automatically kind of like know, because the way that y'all are built is like you already have a desire for what's supposed to come out of me. And y'all do this pulling.
We put a demand on it.
You put a demand on it. And that's the thing.
Come forth, sir. Come on forth.
And that's the thing. See, if a man don't know, a young man don't know that your job, you pull with, he gonna get irritated.
Yes.
What are you
trying to change me? You're trying to be my mama.
Yeah. That's it right there, And so I would say, do some introspective work, learn your roles as a husband. Make sure that you got the demons dealt with and out of your life. Anger, rage, fear, lust, greed. All these things you got to deal with,
How would a young man deal with this lust? Because adultery is huge in marriages now. I don't want to say now. It probably always has been. That's why it was one of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Proverbs, be aware of the adulterous woman, because a man is automatically, you drawn away by your own lust. Every man has a desire for women,
So how can he tame that? You know what I'm saying? As a young man, being that you've been through this, we've been through it, unfortunately, Lord Jesus. All right. So what would you tell your 21-year-old self? Okay. Knowing that now that you've went through all this pain and all the things that we've had to rebuild from, that was torn down and destroyed. What would you tell this man who is about to stand at this altar and marry this woman if he knows he has a challenge with lust?
You got to be honest with yourself. Okay. Like, be real and be honest with yourself. Nobody knows you more than you and God. God knows you, but you got to know yourself more. So a man knows when he got a lust problem. Okay. I think that the way that I handled it is I had to starve it. I had to, that because it's just the flesh.
That's good.
Those are the works of the flesh, adultery and all these things, greed and all these different things come out of the flesh. The flesh is strong when you keep feeding it. The only reason why if somebody has an issue with lust or adultery is because you listen to either you around something that's feeding your flesh. It's strengthening it.
That's good. That's
good.
And
we talk to a lot of people every day, and I try to if you can only see this.
Yep.
But that's what I would tell that young man, or even that any man that's listening right now.
I hear you.
You got to starve your flesh.
That's good. Baby.
Weaken it. It's just like in your natural body.
Yes.
If you hungry and you ain't eat for days, you gonna be weak. You ain't gotta. Sometimes you gonna get to the point where you can't even stand because you're so weak.
You had me thinking.
And you can't fight.
When we fast food, for example, and we have for a week. I remember one time we fast for 7 days, only water, right?
Yeah.
We were recovering from adultery. And when we started back eating regular food, it's almost as though our appetite had changed. Our taste buds had even changed. So when you starve something and you go without it, your appetite for that thing begins to change and shift. So are you saying that you would tell him before marriage, don't have sex?
Starve your
flesh. You have
flesh.
to starve that desire to have sex, because if you don't, it's going to keep pulling and calling you even after marriage.
Marriage don't change you.
And now the wife ain't enough.
Marriage does not. Let me say this. I said marriage don't change you, but I want to retract that. Let me back up. Marriage will not get rid of your demons. You have to get rid of them. Marriage ain't going to get rid of them, because that's the way I thought. I thought when I got married that I wouldn't have to be dealing with lust or something. I thought that once I get married, I'm going to be good. But I brought the demons into the marriage.
And that's what was confusing for me, because we dated for 2 years.
Yep.
And there was never a sign of the lust. At least I didn't see it. You know, I felt at home with you. I felt safe.
Yep.
And then the second year of our marriage, that you gave into it or something. So are you saying that it lies dormant, but then also you never starved the lust? We always had sex,
always.
You know,
and that's the thing.
That was, you never had done without it.
That's the thing.
Now I'm thinking, I was pregnant. That was the longest time you had went without sex. When, because I was on my 6 weeks of not having. I was on my 6 weeks of, you can't have sex for 6 weeks after you have a baby, and that's when you cheated. And that was the longest time.
Because that desire, I didn't never starve it, regardless of
it had never been starved.
It had never
until I went on my 6 weeks.
I've never known I had to starve it. It never.
Wow.
Even when we started being together, I never starved it. I never knew I had to starve it. I know I needed to stay away from sex. I knew we shouldn't have sex before marriage, but never knew how to. I didn't really take it really seriously. It wasn't really that core value. But that's what I would say to that young man. Starve it. Starve it. You got to starve. And even now, I don't deal with it. It's not the same as far as the lust and stuff like that. But when I notice my mind is not focused on it, like when I get bogged down with not lust but just life. Okay. Period. That's when I know, hold on, my flesh is, when I get out of faith. Okay. And that's when I realize my flesh is starting. When I get angry quickly, you know what I'm saying? That's the indication that, hold on, I got to fast. Okay. When I can't focus, I got to fast. You know what I'm saying? There's something.
Fast is to do without so that you can focus on what's most important.
That's it.
That's what it means to fast. Do without, so that you can focus on drawing closer to the Spirit of God. Because, the Spirit of God won't lead you into destruction. The Spirit of God is going to lead you to a healthy place, a place of peace and love and in faithfulness and commitment. And so I appreciate that, babe. And so let's close it by talking now about one pro of getting married young. We talked about some of the cons. We talked about one pro earlier. I did talk about the intimacy, the deep intimacy that we have. But I just want to close it by saying this. For me, getting married at 17, I wouldn't change that for anything, because I have experienced a life with you that nobody on this planet would be able to give me. You know what I'm saying? I have endured. I have laughed. I've cried. You've seen me in my worst of the worst. You accept me for who I am. I accept you for who you are. We have the craziest laughs. We are best friends. We have fun just doing nothing. Literally, we have the greatest conversations. You know me in and out, and I know you in and out. And to me, that's a jewel. That's something that can never be replaced. It's irreplaceable, you know? And so I can see why God says in Proverbs 5, to the husbands, enjoy the wife of your youth. just enjoy the wife of your youth, because, you know, you get to build with her. You get to build a life with her that cannot be replaced by no other woman on this earth, because you've built a lifetime. We only get about, how long people living out here now?
70, 80 years.
70, 100 years old. Something.
Might, if you make it to 100, then you've been blessed.
You feel me? And we halfway, babe. I'm 40, you 46, 45. That's about halfway, and we've endured and we've went through life together. So for me, that would be my pro of getting married young, is that you get to build a life with one person and nobody else can match that or top that. So my person for life.
I think, I want to piggyback off that, because that's the beautiful thing about marrying young. You know what I'm saying? It's like I get to see my Christina. I call you. I don't know if I don't call you this outwardly, but inwardly, that's what I say in my heart. That's my Christina.
Wow.
Because I remember, I keep going back that day when we were standing in the project door. You had on a white T-shirt and blue jeans, and you was gorgeous. You was like you was my young boo thing. Yeah, you was a young thing, and you were my Christina. And I look at you now. I still see you as my Christina, but you're more beautiful than you would have ever been. You getting more beautiful with age, and I'm getting emotional.
I am too.
But it like always amazes me when I look at you, to see you come from that little girl on up to this grown woman. And I get the opportunity or the privilege of saying in my heart that you are mine. You are mine. You belong to me. And I think that because we got married young, because we've been through so much, it builds a marriage confidence in me, because you didn't leave me. Out of all the things that we've been through, you didn't leave me. You didn't bail out on me. You didn't abandon me. You are one person that out of my life that I can say that has never abandoned me. Of course, outside of God. But, we never left each other. We never, like, as far as physically left, we were there for each other, even though there was a lot of trauma in our marriage, but we still here. We're still together.
Yeah.
We're still husband and wife. We're still fighting for our marriage.
Yes.
So that's one thing that I really, really appreciate about us, being married young. Is that I got a forever partner, forever love.
Amen.
A forever, it's a forever thing. So that's the.
You done gonna make me shed some tears on this podcast today, LeTroy. Oh my God.
Yeah, man. That's real,
Yeah.
And so for those of y'all that are out here and you're young, hopefully you take some of these nuggets that we share with y'all, but embrace these moments. Embrace, because that person that you are with right there, y'all, after some years, God willing, you're going to be able to look back and say, wow.
Look at what the Lord has
done. Through it all, we still win. You know what I'm saying?
Through it all, we still win.
Look at what the Lord has done. Man, I remember when. I remember this.
Come on, babe.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the beautiful thing.
And it's just a memory.
And
It'll just be a memory with no pain attached to it.
Yep.
Nothing but a reflection of the goodness of God. And that's how I see our marriage today.
Good talk, baby.
Same.
Certified marriage mentors LeTroy and Christina Brown have a new book, The Marriage Mouth. They are the founders of Married for Real and have been reaching hundreds of thousands of people around the world with their transparent and relevant approach to common marriage issues. So many people have been asking for the book, and now you can have it for yourself. This dynamic book is full of powerful topics, prayers, and confessions. It's a book you'll never be done with. It was designed to use as a spiritual guide and tool to address most marital situations. The Marriage Mouth. Your mouth is a weapon. Don't use it against your spouse. Order your copy today at Amazon.com or go to our website at marriedforreal.com.